I don't know what it is about a good CD box set that just seems irresistible to me. You take a band's entire studio output, you sell the individual CDs at a garage sale for $1 each, I'm not interested. You take those same 10 or 8 or 12 CDs, put them together in a nice slim box, and put a slipcase on it or something removable like this, and suddenly I'll pay $30 for this. I don't know what it is. There's just something very, very satisfying about having everything that a band you love has ever done, at least the studio albums, in a nice box. This is the Alan Parsons Project Complete Album Collection, and it's one of several great box sets I picked up in the last year or so. And one thing I love about CD box sets right now is that while we all love vinyl, what a great bargain these things are. For the cost of a single new LP reissue in many cases, you can get a complete studio discography CD box set for the same price or within striking distance of the same price. So if you are on a budget, it's not always practical to go for that deluxe 180 gram, $30 reissue of an album. So I've been buying a lot of box sets recently because it's just financially responsible. And I think we're entering that period of the CD bubble where box sets are a great value. It doesn't take much to thrill me with the box set. All I really want is all the studio albums. If I get more than that, great, but that's the minimum. If you give me that, I'm happy. I don't need every live album. I don't need every unreleased track, but if you throw some on there, if you include a nice book, so much the better. And I want to share with you just a few of my favorite CD box sets that I've picked up recently. And I want to tell you also how I improved them, because there's nothing with a good CD box set that says it can't be improved with just a little extra thinking. So let's start with that Alan Parsons Project box set I showed you a minute ago. And of course, it has a wonderful book. But what I personally love, and this is more of a like than a need, all the albums are reproduced in these kind of cardboard mini sleeves, not the typical jewel cases that I find very bulky, especially if I'm driving to try and open up a case and get a CD out. These are LP reproduction sleeves. They're great. Just as a vinyl geek, that makes me all the more happy. But not only does this not only does this include all of the studio albums, it also includes an unreleased album that the band recorded called The Sicilian Defense. And this was a very interesting album because they were trying to get out of their record contract. So they intentionally recorded an album that was kind of bad, or they felt it was kind of bad, hoping that the label would let them out of their contract. And in chess, the phrase "the Sicilian Defense" is a tactical move. It's like a move of desperation. It's like your move of last resort. It's your Hail Mary pass to try and get out of a bad situation. So they called their album The Sicilian Defense. It did not work. They did not get out of their contract. But it is included here for the first time ever, and it's actually a much, much better album than you would expect. It's instrumental, but very, very good. So how did I improve this already great CD box set? Well, I told you this album includes every Alan Parsons Project album. But there was one album that the band recorded called Freudinia that was intended to be an Alan Parsons Project album. But by the time it was done, the band kind of felt, well, this isn't really the Alan Parsons Project. So it was released just kind of on its own as sort of a musical, Freudinia. And this was the soundtrack. However, in some territories, it was actually released. Promo copies were sent out under the name The Alan Parsons Project. So although the album was not released under that name, it kind of feels like it still is an Alan Parsons Project. So I went to eBay and I found a copy of Freudinia. I took it out of the jewel case. This is just the book, and I have the CD in a little paper sleeve here. And together, these fit very nicely in the box, and I have now improved my Alan Parsons Project box set to be truly complete, because 50-50 debate on whether Freudinia is an Alan Parsons Project album, but feels like it should be included. Let's move on to another box set that I was personally very impressed by. This is the Byrds, the Complete Columbia Album Collection. And a little bit thicker because it has a few more albums in it. Many, many albums. And what I love about this set, again, a very nice booklet. is included. And again, all the albums are in these mini LP reproduction sleeves, which are just wonderful. And these are the 2000 remasters of all the albums. And I think just about every album includes extensive bonus tracks. So this is already an amazing value. It does include absolutely everything that the Byrds included on Columbia, but they recorded one album that wasn't on Columbia. So I had to go get that separately and add it to my box. This is their 1973, I think, reunion album, just called Byrds, recorded for a different label. Again, I bought the CD, took it out of the jewel case, and it kind of looks like a mini sleeve now, and fits in very perfectly with all my other Byrds albums. And this Byrds collection is now not just the complete Columbia albums, but the complete everything. And if I can close it, then it still looks, it's no thicker. It doesn't stick out at all. Perfect. Okay, you all know I love the Beach Boys and I love Brian Wilson. And so that means I really love the Pet Sounds Sessions. This is a 4 CD set that includes not only remastered mono and stereo versions of the Pet Sounds albums, but also several discs of outtakes, musical tracks, backing tracks without vocals, vocal tracks without backing. It's an amazing kind of stripped away look. So you can really almost make your own mix of Pet Sounds if you were so intended to. And this is a wonderful set if you like that kind of minutia. Pet Sounds is for you like it is for me, one of these amazing albums. Then, of course, you want to kind of get in the weeds and get into all this stuff. Of course, a wonderful book included with it. So how could I make this set even better? Well, Brian Wilson performed Pet Sounds live several years ago and released an audio CD of it. And it seems like my Pet Sounds session should include the live performance by Brian Wilson and his band of the entire Pet Sounds album. So I've taken a copy of that. I'm adding it to my box. And again, it doesn't make the original box any thicker. It still looks very nice on my shelf, and now even more complete than it was. And I've got just 2 more for you today, but if you watched this far, please go ahead and give me a like and subscribe just so I know that you like this content, and maybe I can make more of these box set improvement videos if you find them interesting. My last 2 sets kind of fall into the category of the label doesn't think the band is the band anymore after one person in particular leaves or dies. So I have here what is billed as The Doors, a collection. And here it just says a collection. But I think on the listing I saw for this, it said the complete album collection or something like that. So I get this and we look and it has 6 studio albums by The Doors. Now, the problem with that is that The Doors recorded 9 albums. So what they have here are the 6 albums made when Jim Morrison was alive and, of course, recording with the band. So I kind of get that, but if I'm going to be completist, I want all 9 albums. I don't want just the 6. So we open this up, and even in a slim little box like this, we get another book. They're really spoiling us with these books, which I love. And again, we have our little mini album cardboard sleeves, which again, big selling point for me. And we have the 6 Doors albums that we would expect, concluding with L.A. Woman. And what I did is I went on and I bought the 3 remaining Doors albums sold separately. So there is a 2-disc set that has the 7th and the 8th album. These are called Other Voices and Full Circle. So I have these 2 here. And again, you put each individual disc in one of these, just like I did. And these are interesting albums. They don't really sound like The Doors because obviously Jim is missing, but they're not bad albums. And if they had come out under a different name, I think they'd have much better reputations today than they did. And then kind of controversially, for their last album, The Doors recorded music for a series of poetry readings that Jim Morrison had done, obviously before he died. And this is called An American Prayer, Jim Morrison, music by The Doors. So The Doors have recorded this music and set his poetry to music, and it's kind of a controversial album. I kind of like it. I don't love it, but I kind of like it, and I'm glad to include it in my Doors set, where even with 3 extra CDs, although it takes a little bit of work to get the tabs in the right way, the albums do still close, and it still sits on my shelf with now a truly complete studio Doors collection. It doesn't have the live stuff. And the last set I'm going to show today is one of my favorites. This was one of my early pickups when I decided I wanted to collect box sets. The Velvet Underground Peel Slowly and See. This banana is peelable, just like the original pressings of the Velvet Underground's first album. It's a really wonderful set, and as you might expect, it includes, the albums you would expect, the famous albums, as well as an additional disc of demos. So it includes the four albums, plus the disc one is a disc of early demos and recordings. And as usual, for these sets, we have an incredible book, which I really found very interesting. And we have, the various CDs. I've got the hype sticker in there. I preserved that. But how did I improve this? Well, the fact of the matter is Lou Reed left the band, and the band continued recording and touring for a short time. They released one album without Lou Reed called Squeeze. And this is fronted by Doug Yule, who joined the band, I think, on the second album. I might be wrong on that. I think it's the second album. And I like this album, but just like with the Doors stuff without Jim Morrison, had it been called anything other than the Velvet Underground, which is so associated with Lou Reed and to a lesser extent John Cale, people can't get into this. And it's too bad because it's a pretty good little pop album, but it does not sound anything like the traditional Velvet Underground. But it needs to be in my box. This is not an officially released CD, I don't think. I believe this is what we kind of affectionately call a gray market CD, which means, bootleg. And I got this off eBay, so they're not hard to find. I think it was eBay. I don't think it was Discogs, because Discogs won't let you sell bootlegs. So I got that, and then it seems like if you're going to have that, you also need View and Another View, which are two kind of rarities, singles, alternate takes kind of collections that I picked up because, why don't you want that in your set? I definitely want that. And then this is not one I would have added, but I happened to be at a yard sale, and they had a few CDs, and I looked, and they just happened to have this Velvet Underground live at Max's, Kansas City, for $1. So why not? I don't really treasure live material that much, but for $1, hey, I got it. I added it to my set, and it is now more complete than ever. So that's really just the tip of the iceberg. As I say, I can't resist a good CD box set, and I love to improve them when I can. And if you liked this video, if you found this interesting, let me know, because I can do several more. These are not the only box sets I've improved in my own inimitable way, but I have a lot more to say on the subject, so let me know if you're interested in hearing more. But for now, I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be back with you soon.